I'm Michael Sera, the board president at the Japanese American Museum of San Jose. The objective for tonight's event is to share the museum's gallery with a broader audience virtually. We hope that this teaser will encourage you to want to come visit in person, as well as share this with your friends. The mission of JAMsj is CPS, to collect, preserve, and share the Japanese American history, culture, and arts with the Greater Bay Area. The vision of JAMsj, building bridges of understanding through inspiration, innovation, and inclusion. The three pillars, the first one being inspiration. It's our museum expansion. We're currently working on expanding our footprint to create more space for more artifacts, new, more immersive installations, and larger groups. The second pillar, innovation. This is the digital JAMsj. 2 years ago, we had no idea that the pandemic would last this long. But if there's a silver lining, it's actually accelerated our development efforts. We had to pivot to a virtual programming environment. We also expanded our reach. And we had a Tohoku 10th year anniversary, which allowed us to include folks from Japan. We also had our first virtual sake tasting event, and we'll have our second one here on February 12th. And currently running is the Hidden Histories Augmented Reality Tours. And next is our virtual gallery tour, which you'll get to see in a few minutes for the first time. The last pillar is inclusion, and that's the Kawakami House. We're actively working on restoring this truly unique historical structure, creating a highly functional addition to the current footprint we have in an immersive historical experience. We want to create a space that will allow other community groups to share their stories. At the end of tonight's program, the JAMsj virtual gallery tour will go live on our website. We encourage you to share this with your friends and family. And our hope is that when you're comfortable, you'll come visit San Jose Japantown, the museum, and all the great shops and restaurants, and bring everyone with you. Until then, stay safe and healthy. I would like to now introduce Evan Schieber, a JAMsj volunteer. He worked on this project with Matterport and Virtualized Media. He's the one who created the 50+ tags and write-ups working with the JAMsj docents. He'll take you through a quick tour of the gallery and how to use the application. And then we'll follow that up with a Q&A session at the very end. So Evan, are you ready? All right, Evan, take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. So again, I'm Evan Schieber. I'm currently a freshman in college, and I've been volunteering with the Japanese American Museum of San Jose for about 2 years now. So briefly, just what I'm going to go through. I'll give a slightly more in-depth introduction about myself, how I got involved working with JAMsj, also how the tour came to be. Then I'll share my screen and show you guys what we've been working on and show you all the functionalities, how to use it, how to navigate it, and all the cool features that we've included in it. So firstly, I got involved at the Japanese American Museum of San Jose through actually a class project my junior year of high school. So one of the classes I was taking, which was called Power of Memory, which kind of focused on remembrance, had a service learning aspect of the project where all the students had to get involved with a local organization that dealt with remembrance. So I've always been interested in Japanese American incarceration. This is partly because I'm just always been interested in history, government. I'm planning on majoring in political science, but also that I'm half Japanese and that my mother's side, her grandparents and all my relatives on that side were incarcerated during World War II. And so I've had the opportunity to hear from them and some of my other relatives about their experience. And learning about Japanese American incarceration has really been a way for me to sort of learn more about both American history, American government, as well as my own family's history and culture. So I wanted to find an organization where I could maybe help tell that story, and JAMsj was the perfect fit for that. So originally I was just going to help around the museum and all that, but right as that class was happening and that project was happening, that's when COVID hit. So I still wanted to do my project with the museum. So I reached out to Michael and we started talking about some potential projects that we could take on that we'd be able to accomplish virtually. And something that we came up to was a virtual tour, both because obviously during COVID, we want to broaden the reach of everything, but just in general, or yeah, because everything was virtual, we want people to be able to still access the museum, but also just generally broadening the reach of the museum for people who might not be there, who might want to get a taste to see whether or not they'd like to come into the museum, sort of maybe as an educational resource, and just use this tour as something that would allow more people to access what JAMsj is doing. So we started getting into the development of this. We played around with a bunch of different platforms where we would create mock-ups and everything to see if we liked how it looked or not. And we eventually ended up settling on working with Matterport and virtualized media. And so once we had decided on that, we actually get into the process of creating the tour and everything. So we had to make a bunch of different tags. We had to sort of map out how we wanted a tour to work, what sort of elements we want included in the tour. And so I will now share my screen and show you guys what we have been working on for the last about 2 years now. So as you can see, if I click here, let's see. There we go. This is our virtual tour. So firstly, just to go into some of the basic functionalities, I'll take you guys through all that. If you have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat, and there will be a time at the end where we will answer all those, or you can wait until later and just raise your hand and we'll call on you for any questions. But firstly, just the basic functionalities of this. To move around, as you can see, this has placed us right within the pier area right inside the museum. So in order to move around, you can see your little cursor here. You can kind of just click and rotate like that, and that'll allow you to move side to side in view. You can also use your arrow keys. So if I hit my left arrow key, that'll allow me to move left, and then the right arrow key, that'll allow me to move right. So really, these are, we had someone come in with a 360-degree camera, so you can really see everywhere around you. And the next thing you might notice is all these little white dots on the ground. So when we were creating the tour, we actually had virtualized media come in and with like their 360 camera, and they just went around the museum with it, taking a bunch of different photos. So all these little white circles on the ground were places where they took a photo. And as you can see, there are a lot of them. So we basically have a comprehensive collection of photos that comprise the tour. And so you can see, in order to move around, you can just click on the circles. It'll move you in the direction of that and place you in the new view. So you can see that. Another way you can move is just, let's say I wanted to move in this direction forward here, I can just click and it'll automatically push me in that direction to the different white circles. Another thing that I'm sure you guys will notice is these little purple dots that are everywhere. So what we wanted to do is that we wanted people, when they got the virtual tour, it's really hard to, see the actual text of everything. So we wanted to give people a little taste of the information and the sort of thing that the sort of things that they would learn if they came in person to JAMsj. So we added all these little points of information. They're scattered all throughout the museum. They give little tidbits, the sort of maybe facts that you would learn if you were getting guided by a docent. So they give a little bit of a little taste of what it would be like to be in person here at the museum, but doesn't give kind of the whole story. So it still leaves a lot more to learn if you were to come in person. So in order to access these, you can just hover your cursor above them, and it'll open a little text box, which will give you, it'll have a header, which will tell you sort of what you're looking at, or what the point of interest is giving you information on. And then underneath, it'll have some more text, which will be elaborating on that. So you can just hover over it, which will access it, and then move your cursor away, which will get rid of it, or you can click on it, and it'll kind of focus you in, and then you can just, it's automatically kind of stuck there, and then you can click away to move out of it. So if I say I wanted to access this one, you can just click on it, and it'll move you automatically, taking you over in that direction. not only do we have these text ones, but we also have a couple of special little points of interest that are all throughout the museum. For example, right here in the resettlement section, if you normally were to come into the museum, you could read these really compelling stories about resettlement. You could also go onto this iPad, which has a number of additional stories. And so we wanted to give a little taste of what that was like. So we actually have a little player here, which plays a video of Yoshiko, who's a longtime docent at the museum, has been involved with the museum for a long time. But we gave we have a video here, which you can click on there to hear about her family's resettlement experience.
Evan,
Just like,
Yoshiko's actually here in the audience. She just waved
oh,
her hand.
oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so you can hear Yoshiko talking there. Another cool one that we have is here. We have Lawson Sakai, an oral history from him. He unfortunately has passed away recently, but he was a member of the 442nd Battalion, which was the all Japanese American battalion during World War II that was the most decorated for its size. But here we have a little text with an oral history of him talking about his experience with the 442nd. And then at the bottom here, we have a link which will take you to the whole oral history that he did with JAMsj. And also that'll give you access to all the other oral histories that JAMsj did as part of that project, which are really awesome to explore. If we move over here, just clicking my way into the barracks room. For those who know the museum decently well or have been there once or a couple of times, you know that when you walk into the barracks room, there's that little, it kind of triggers that little sound where I believe it was like a baby crying, and just gives kind of the ambiance of what it would have been like to be in the barracks room. Unfortunately, we can't have that, but we did also want to give a little sense for kind of the ambiance and the general vibe of what it was like to be in this room. So we have Roy Matsuzaki. We have an audio clip here. So if you can press play, you can hear him talking about his experience living with his family at the Jerome and Rower incarceration camps. Roy is also like a docent and a longtime member of the museum. And then moving this way over here, you can see we have another special point of interest. Oops. Over all the way over here, which just gives you kind of a better sense of the artwork that you're looking at. And because it's a little bit hard to see the artwork through the glass panels here. So it gives you a better view of this. So you can see the beautiful artwork that was done in the incarceration camps. So now going into some of the other features of the tour. As you can see, we have, yes, as you can see, we have a couple of things down here. I think the two coolest things that we have here are this play tour button and this dollhouse button. So if I start with the play tour button and I click play tour, what it'll do is it'll automatically take you through the museum in sort of the progression that we believe is sort of the most interesting chronological. And yeah, so what it'll automatically do for you is you don't have to do any of the moving around or the looking around. It'll automatically move you from point to point in a way that we have already, the order that we've told it to, and it'll kind of give you the view of what you're seeing in the different parts of the museums. And then let's say I'm right here and I want to stop the tour. I can just click right out and it'll allow me to, let's say I'm interested in seeing this, it'll allow me to access this point. And let's say I've read about the produce box stencils and I'm ready to go back on the tour. If you just click the play tour button again, it'll take you right back to where you were and allow you to start right back where you were. So again, if you just want to stop it, you can just click out and it'll allow you to keep moving around again and then hit it again. And that will let you go back into the kind of automatic pan and scan. So this is a really nice way to just kind of see it hands off and just be able to look at the different artifacts we have Yes. And then another feature that we have is this dollhouse in the bottom left corner. So if I click that, it takes you to this really cool kind of view of the museum. Oopsies, why is my, there we go. Yeah, it takes you to this really cool kind of bird's eye view of the museum. So the way that you can navigate around this is just you click to kind of move this around the same way that you did, just by like clicking your mouse and just kind of scrolling your mouse around to look around. And then you can also move side to side by, I'm on a trackpad right now, so I'm clicking with two fingers and moving it side to side like that. But you can also right click if you have a mouse. And so that'll allow you to move like that. So if you can also zoom in, which I'm doing by scrolling. So if you scroll up, it'll allow you to zoom in. You scroll back, it'll allow you to zoom out. And then you can kind of see this really cool view. And then, yes, if any time you want to go back in, you can just click it anywhere in the museum and it'll drop you right back in there. So this dollhouse, I think, is just a really cool way to kind of see the whole layout of the museum. As you can see where all the different points of interest are and access them. So yeah, another feature of the tour is this menu in the top right corner here. So if you click it, it gives you a list of all the different areas in the museum that the tour has scanned. So for instance, if you're interested in seeing the farm shed, click there and it'll automatically take you to there. So these are sort of like quick links to the different parts of the museum. So you can automatically kind of, if you're not 100% sure where you're going, or if there's a specific part of the museum that you want to get to, you can access this menu in the top right corner, which again, you can use this fold out, the hamburger thing in the top right, click on that, and then click on the X to close it. And you'll also notice that we have these little triangles here for a couple of them, and these are drop down menus. So if you click on them, it'll open up more options within the exhibit that is here. So for example, in incarceration, if you're interested in looking at the Amachi camp, you can click on the incarceration drop down menu and click Amachi, and that will automatically take you to Amachi. Yes, so that in general is kind of the main functionalities of the tour. Just for a quick refresher, so to move around, and we'll put the link for the tour in the chat at the very end so everyone can go look and explore for themselves. But just for a quick refresher on how to move around and everything, your little mouse, if you click and kind of drag your mouse around, that'll allow you to look around, pan and scan, and see the entirety of like these 360-degree photos that we've taken. In order to move around, you can move from these white dots, one white dot to another. So you can either click on them to move, or you can just kind of click in the general direction that you want to move. And the tour will just kind of automatically move you in that based on the spot that's closest in that direction that you're clicking. Yes, we also have the points of interest, which give little extra tidbits of information, which you can access just by hovering over, or you can access by clicking on them. We have a couple of the special little points of interest. And then the special menu features that we also have are the play tour down in the bottom left, which again will play you a tour of the entire museum, where you can kind of look around, or the tour itself will look around for you in the sort of pre-order that we've told it to. We also have the dollhouse option, which allows you to see the super cool kind of panoramic 360 view of the museum. We have this menu up here, which allows you to access the different parts of the museum automatically. One thing I didn't mention is we also, in addition to getting the photos inside, we also took a couple of photographs outside. So you can see the 360 views from outside. And if you are viewing from out here, then the way to get back into the museum, if say you're over here, taking in the beautiful front facade of the museum, you can click on this this little walking guy here, and it'll take you right to the front of the museum and allow you to step in. So a couple of last features in the drop-down menu, you'll see we have this Get in Touch button. This will allow you to fill out your name, your phone, your email, and any messages you might have regarding the tour or just anything in general that you'd like to send to the museum. We'll be sure to get back if you reach out through this. We also have two special buttons down in the museum store area. Firstly, we have this donate button. Projects like this virtual tour are only really possible because they need to be funded through donations. So obviously any donations we would greatly appreciate. But this button allows you to, if you click on it, it'll take you right to the JAMsj donate page. Additionally, we have the Become a Member button, which also, if you click on that, that will take you to the Become a Member page. So those are, yeah, I think that about wraps it up for the tour. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to either put them in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll be sure to answer them. But